Damn. Whoa. Welcome back to Innovation RC, guys. Today we're going to be doing a review between all of the highest caliber ESCs from Castle, especially the new XLX2 that just got released. So we're going to be going over the price point, voltage, amperage, which by the way is unspecified but proven, meaning Castle doesn't exactly specify the maximum amperage rating or the burst ratings of their ESCs. I don't know why. You couldn't ask me and I couldn't tell you. Either way, all these guys have data logging, so it is proven if you can actually pull the amperage, in which both of these guys register actually up to what they do. So that is pretty cool. And we're going to be discussing some features as well. If that seems interesting, we're going to head right into this. All right, so yes, I'm going to be going over all these ESCs, but I'm not going to be going over the XLX2 right now. If you want, I'm going to have a time right there that you're going to want to skip to if you want the exact specs of this guy. But I'm going to go in order, shall we? All right, so up first, guys, we have the Mamba X. Now, this is undoubtedly probably one of the most highest performing 1/10 scale ESCs on the market. Why? Well, one, I've pulled a decent amount of amperage to where it can move an 1/8 scale to an extreme. Now, this ESC is only about 1.5 inches by another inch from the looks of it. But nonetheless, the full aluminum casing allows it to cool off triple quick. So this ESC has a decent place in the market. Now, as for the price of this guy, keep in mind they all fluctuate regarding where you buy it or whatnot. So it's going to be around $145, which is a very good price for an ESC. Yeah, it's a 1/10 scale, so it is kind of up there for only a 10 scale ESC. But keep in mind, this ESC boasts a lot more than what you think. Now, as for voltage, and I stated prior, this thing can run all the way up to 6S. Now, in a 10th scale, that is axle twisting, transmission braking power for a 10th scale. So, in turn, it is definitely rated kind of over spec for a 10th scale ESC, in my opinion. As for amperage, it is easily a 150 amp ESC. I actually had this ESC in my Typhon 6S that is at 9.5 pounds, loaded, running on 4S, and it pulled about 150 amps and it sustained it for a couple seconds. So this ESC is definitely capable. Now, some awesome features that I will state of this guy, nonetheless, of the whole data logging thing. All these ESCs do it, so I'm not even going to state that. We are waterproof, and you could also run it censored. So you can see that there is a little sensor port right there. So you'll have amazing low-end torque without sacrificing the heat of cogging at low RPM. So definitely an awesome ESC. Up next, we have its bigger brother, the Mamba Monster X8S. Now, this ESC is significantly bigger. It still boasts an awesome aluminum housing, so cryo drive really works on dissipating heat with a big whopping 40mm fan. For 1/6 scale, 1/7 scale, and 8 scale vehicles, this is the ESC that you want. Now, coming in at a price point of $195, or probably around $200 after tax, and I actually think it's a very solid price point because you're really getting a lot of ESC for what it is, as well as it being insanely efficient and high quality. It's not like you're buying some kind of plastic ESC. Hobbywing. Now, for voltage, we are at 2 to 8S LiPo, and what is pretty cool about that is that, of course, the bigger guys, they're only meant to run 3 to 8S LiPo. So you could still put this big whopping ESC that, you know, has some decent power capabilities and put it in a smaller vehicle and run it on 2S. As for the amperage, this ESC has been tested countless amount of times and easily pulls over 350 amps. So obviously the ESC can take it. That's why there's a plus right there, because there's some guys that'll pull 400 amps and change and this and that. Now, regarding the features of this guy, aside it being with cryo drive and it having data logging, obviously all the other ESCs have it. It is waterproof and censored, so you're going to have a lot of torque under low RPM if you do want to use the little sensor plug right here. Up next is the Boom Hilda of the RC ESCs out there. This is the XLX ESC. Now, why I say Boom Hilda, there's been a lot of issues with this thing catching fire, blowing up, shorting out battery, this and that, whatever. Now, keep in mind, this is based off a 10-year-old platform. So this ESC essentially is really that old. Only difference is software and some minor improvements that actually made this ESC more feasible to be ran on an everyday basis. This is the XLX. I'm going to try to put this guy over here without the leads covering whatever it is, the information for you guys, but nonetheless. All right, so the price point of this ESC is around $210. Again, it fluctuates from where you buy it. You could get it for $200, $190, or let's say $240, $250 if some people are really hungry for money. All right, with a 3 to 8S voltage capability, this ESC definitely has a lot of punch and power if you want to do lower voltage runs. It definitely has the amperage to do so. So with that being said, amperage rating is definitely 400 plus amps, because there are guys that easily pull 400 via the log, and the log actually stops reading at about 370 to 400, but if pretty much you could still clock more than that. So being that it's 400 plus amps, and let's say you might only see a maximum of 370 to maybe 400, well, pretty much that little amp logger inside the data log stops at around that amperage of how much it's actually going to visually see. Anything else after that is going to be the same amount of amperage. So it's just going to stay there. Now, as for features, well, this guy isn't exactly going to get any brownie points because, well, I mean, obviously it's a high amp ESC, it's powerful, 3 to 8S capabilities, you know, it's not getting anything more than just that. It's not waterproof, nor is it censored. You could only run it sensorless. So the ESC still makes a big statement in the RC market, but that's pretty much all that it has. It's basically just a standard ESC that's capable of higher amperage. Now, we're going to change that up with the newer version of it. I was told the capabilities of this ESC are absolutely unheard of. By the time you reach about 90 to 95% of its power out capabilities, your bullets will be unsoldered. So I'm going to explain why this is such a huge upgrade and how hard it will hit the RC market. This is the XLX2, 8mm bullet ports, sensor capable, waterproof, has a bigger fan on top. It's actually a whopping 50mm. What's amazing about this ESC, it is 100% aluminum with the exception of the little fan housing that just holds the fan on, but 100% aluminum underneath. So you guys can see there's little fins to help this ESC breathe more, which is significant. You know, this is insanely well built and it's just absolutely awesome. This is a big ESC, but you know what? It's absolutely worth it, and I'm going to tell you guys why. As you guys can see, it has a brand new sensor cable, and it is longer, so if you have a longer setup, bigger setup physically, it'll reach. Now, that is awesome regarding an ESC of this caliber to be censored, because now you'll have no cogging if you use a bigger censored motor at low RPM. All right, guys, we're going to be looking at a $250 price tag on this new guy here. And up next, we're going to have a voltage rating of 3 to 8S. Of course, it's a big ESC, so you're going to need a decent amount of voltage just to get it operating correctly, which is why it's not, you know, 2S rated. As for amperage, guys, you are going to be pretty surprised on this one. I'm going to rate this a 500 plus amp ESC. Now, I'm stating this as constant, not as burst. Now, why do I say that? I was in a 33-pound vehicle on 8S pulling 500 amps. Damn! And this ESC barely broke a sweat, you know? Again, we broke 104 miles an hour in a Creighton 8S on 8S. Next, for some awesome features that this guy has, that this guy doesn't. As you guys can see, there's nothing else. It is waterproof, which is awesome. And it's also censored. So now we have an XLX that can run censored motors, and you can use it in the water. Well, I mean, not in the water, but let's say if it gets wet, you're more than golden regarding anything. Now, what I want to do is actually compare both of these guys with the tops off. All right, guys, so I just popped the hood to the Mamba X8S and the XLX2, so you guys can see, basically it's just with bolts all around the ESC, as we know from the Mamba X8S. Now, you don't want to lose those screws, so what I did actually, I have them on a little magnet, so definitely a tip you're going to want to take if you're ever doing this, if you want to see for yourself. Now, we're going to see how similar these guys look. Obviously, they are very similar, despite their size. But you could also see the bullet difference in size, 6.5mm bullets, compared to big 8s. Now, obviously, that's exactly what an XLX needs for what you're going to be doing with an XLX. So what you also see, You can also see it's kind of reflecting around. It's also waterproof, which is what the original XLX1 or the XLX, the previous version, does not have. Actually, an XLX never was waterproof prior of this guy, which is awesome, you know. You can also replace with a wiring harness, which is seen on the Mamba Monster X8S, as well as a bunch of the other models, which is definitely helpful, you know, if you ever cut or splice or mistakenly cut one or whatever. Now, you can also see, this is what I really wanted to get in here. You can see they're not bullets, they're actually standoffs. Actually, it's like the same to the Castle capacitor. It comes directly off the board to whatever wire that you're soldering from. Alright, so we are pretty much done here, guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and be sure to subscribe for more. We're gonna have more tests coming out. I pretty much say that every video, but you know what? We are. This ESC is definitely gonna leave its mark in the RC world, and it's gonna open up a lot more doors. So stay tuned, subscribe, and be safe. Have a good one, guys.